Hi, in this video I'm going to show you what's new in IBM Copy Services Manager 6.3.14. IBM Copy Services Manager 6.3.14 G8 at the end of March in 2025. So as you can see, there's 5 features I'm going to talk about, both on the overall CSM side as well as a couple that are directly related to the FlashSystem side of our product. So I'll begin. All right, actually, before I start on this one, there is a major update in 6.3.14. It's kind of under the covers. You won't see the difference, but just to let you know, we have moved to Java 21 as of our 6.3.14 release. So there will be a change in Java. You won't see that. It installs in the distributed environment by itself, although in Z environments you will see the multiple PTFs to cover the new Java. All right, so the first feature I'm going to talk about in this release, it comes from IDEA CSM I163. So what this customer wanted was the ability to set a user-defined name on a server. So why would they want this? Well, we found that some of these larger customers in particular have multiple environments where they actually separate the environments and replication in those environments by CSM server. So they might have a certain part of their business that runs multi-target over here and another part of their business that runs multi-target over there. And so they set up different active standby configurations in each of those environments so they don't get mixed up. Well, the CSM GUI, when you bring that up in a browser, looks all the same. I mean, the IP address on the browser does indicate which server you're talking to, but I mean, if it's a generic IP or host, I mean, it makes it a little bit confusing, right? So what they wanted was the ability to come in here and set a server name so that when they're looking at the browser, they can know exactly which server, as they're switching tabs in their browser, which one they're looking at. So now in the Advanced Tools panel, if you go to towards the 4th one down, you now see a set server name. You can modify that, click Apply, and what you'll see in the top right corner where that big red circle is in the zoomed in view of it, you'll see that name next to the user that's logged in. So I'm logged in as CSM admin in this picture, but I named it Kratos, and you can see that that shows up there at the top. So at a glance, you can look at the GUI, look at the top, and say, okay, I'm in my such and such environment. Okay, no, I switched browsers. This is the one I want. I'm in a different environment. So hopefully this helps. I think this is what they're looking for. This should hopefully let you customize your environment a little bit more. All right, the next one I want is also kind of a ease of use kind of situation. So we have for quite a while now let you define user-defined group names. So on a given session, you can specify your own user-defined group name so that in the main View All Sessions overview panel, you could filter it, sort it, or whatever by this group name so that you can see all those sessions managed by that group. Well, the customer opened IDEA CSM I189 because while that is useful, they didn't want to have to always filter on that or do manage it by that. They just want to kind of group together automatically, separately, and be able to condense it and all. So we already kind of set that precedence for the sessions by volume group, which is for FlashSystem side. So what we did is we took that and we created sessions by group name. So now if you go in and click that on the navigator, go sessions by group name, you'll see a picture like the one in the bottom right there, where each of those group names are defined. It will have a list of sessions that have that group name in a tree-like structure. So you'll be able to you click the little caret and condense it, expand it, etc., and manage your sessions this way. Kind of gives you a little bit better organization, a little bit better usage for when you're looking at individual groups of sessions. All right, the next one is IDEA CSM I181. This particular customer, they have a user that they usually need to go into audit the system, and this audit looks at various different components to make sure things are set up right and handled correctly. Well, what the user had issues with was that the monitor user, which is meant to be a user that can just go in and not issue anything, just view things, couldn't view everything. So it's particularly everything they needed to audit. So some of the things that they needed to audit were things like The CSM port pairing definitions file, you need to make sure that that was set up correctly. Server properties, you need to make sure that was set up correctly. Scheduled tasks in particular, they need to make sure those are enabled or scheduled on the right schedule. And so in order to view these things, they'd have to escalate the user that was set as a monitor so they had a little bit higher permission in order to view these certain panels in the CSM GUI. And they don't want to do that anymore, right? It's a little bit of a security risk. They have to escalate them and then de-escalate them, and a little pain in the process. And so now, starting with 6.3.14, the monitor user still does not grant any access to actions, so it can't do anything, but it does give you a little more viewability into some of these other panels it didn't before. So in particular, like you're seeing there, the scheduled task panel, they'll be able to see that now. They won't be able to create tasks, or I know that actions button is highlighted there in blue. It's not grayed out, but if you drill it down, it doesn't do anything. You can't enable, you can't run, you can't do anything. So same with the sessions, same with the CSV port pairing files. They can't edit anything, they're disabled, but they can view it now. So hopefully this accomplishes what they need, and they'll be able to do their audits now. All right. The next couple here actually involve the FlashSystem side. So in our last release, CSM added the ability to manage the FlashSystem's async policy-based replications. So whenever we're connected to the FlashSystems that have a volume group that has an async policy against it, CSM will automatically discover it and create an async policy-based replication session. And just to note, if you forgot what we did in 6.3.13, we actually support all flavors of it. So we support the base async policy-based replication, which is not based on a partition, just basic first release version. And then the new policy-based two-site, as well as the policy-based two-site with HA. So you can think of that as three-site maybe. But the remote replication plus HA, we all put that in the async-based replication session as well. So all three flavors we support, we automatically generate the session for you, as long as we're connected to all the systems. But we noticed that some customers may want to not only apply a policy-based replication to a volume group, but they're going to want to take snapshots, right? You might want snapshots to to archive the data or validate the data. You might want safeguarded snapshots against the remote site to be secure and safeguard your environment. You have different requirements, and so you might want to snapshot all this. So now with 6.3.14, 6.3.14, when we not only will we assimilate the async policy-based replication, but we will automatically create snapshot sessions for that volume group of the async replication for all systems that involve that volume group. So what I mean by that is, if it's a simple two-site, local and remote, two-system setup async replication, we will create a snapshot session for the site 1 and a snapshot session for site 2. If it's a HA-related async session, we will create the remote snapshot session as well as a snapshot session for each of the systems that are involved in that HA replication at the local site. Okay, so once we do that, we also associate it to the async policy-based replication session. So now not only do you have these snapshot sessions automatically built in CSM, but now because we're associated to it, you can manage it all from the async session itself. So we allow you to do 4 new commands. Create snapshot and create safeguarded snapshot are designed to issue it to whichever site is your current production site. So CSM knows which direction the replication is going, and if you're running on H2, like the picture shows, that's site 2, the create snapshot and create safeguarded snapshot will create the snapshots on the volume group at that site 2, H2 site. If your arrow was going the opposite direction, it would know to issue it to the volume groups at H1 site. And if it's HA related, it would know which of the HA boxes is the main, the primary managed box. So it would issue it to that one. And there's future features coming in Flash systems to kind of handle the HA stuff with snapshots. So this will hopefully pick that up automatically as well. But it knows which one's the HA box, so you don't have to worry about that. It just creates the snapshot going. We also have the create recovery site snapshot and create recovery site safeguard snapshot. And what this does is the opposite. So again, we know the direction. So in the picture, we're going site 2 to site 1. So the recovery site is actually site 1. So if you had a disaster because production's running at site 2, you would recover on site 1. And so by issuing the create recovery site snapshot, we will issue the snapshot to whatever box is at that site and is the main box, and vice versa if the directions change. So why do we do this way? It makes your ability to create scheduled tasks for these snapshots easier. So you may have a policy different for your local snapshots than your remote snapshots. For example, local snapshots, I may want to do at a faster interval. I may want to do every 30 minutes. I want to take a snapshot or a safeguarded snapshot just because that's the current day. That's where I recover the fastest. I got it there. But the remote site, that's you don't need it as fast. That's your recovery plan there. Maybe you only want that once a day. So you could set that the schedule to say create recovery site snapshot once a day over there, and maybe change the retention. Maybe the retention is once a day but 7 days, where local it's once a day but 3 days. So you can set that and know that production has a different requirement for the snapshots and retentions than the recovery site. So you set those scheduled tasks. But the cool thing is, because the command's the same and CSM manages it, if the production site changes. So say I was running on site 1 and I was doing my create snapshots and running it in a 30-minute interval. If I had a disaster and had to recover and move production to site 2, got replication up and going again, and so it's going 2 to 1, that scheduled task doesn't have to change. Your policy for managing the snapshots at a 30-minute interval automatically switches in CSM to issue against the production site, the site 2 boxes. You didn't have to change it, didn't have to point it to a different snapshot. We automatically know it. Start doing 30-minute intervals at site 2 instead, because that's where my production is. Start doing daily intervals at site 1 because that's where my recovery is. So this is way easier to manage. Hope people see this. You don't have to set individual, you don't snapshot policies. You don't have to do manage it separately on the server itself. Set it once in the CSM scheduled task, enable the task, and no matter which site, you got your policy. All right. Hopefully that all made sense. All right, the next feature is tied to that. So after you create a safeguarded snapshot, you may want to refresh your thin clones. So in regular snapshot sessions, we already allow you to do a refresh thin clone. Well, because we allow you to now create snapshots against the main async policy-based session, we are going to let you refresh the thin clone as well. So in the async session, you can say refresh thin clone or refresh recovery site thin clone, and choose whichever snapshot, whichever thin clone you want to refresh, and handle it that way, so that you don't have to create a new thin clone every time you want to look at the snapshot data. You can attach a set of hosts to a certain set of volumes, refresh that with a new snapshot regularly, and do whatever maybe cyber resiliency tests or whatever you have, you can do against that. And the cooler part is we actually let you schedule a task with it as well. So you can point it, schedule tasks, say refresh recovery site thin clone or refresh thin clone to that async session. And again, we know which is the production, which is the recovery site, because we know the direction of the replication. And so we will take that in a scheduled task, and what it does is it'll say, okay, what was the last thin clone created and what was the last snapshot created, and refreshes the snapshot, refreshes the thin clone with that latest snapshot, the latest thin clone with the latest snapshot. Why would you do this? Cyber resiliency. You can set up a scheduled task to do a create snapshot, refresh thin clone together. So now not only does it create the snapshot, but it refreshes your last thin clone. Do your test. Next time, same thing happens over and over again, Or maybe you do the refresh thin clone at a different interval. Maybe every fourth snapshot you do the refresh thin clone, because that's when you do your cyber vault type see if there's an attack kind of calculations. So again, create nice safeguard snapshots, refresh thin clone all through the async session, all managed in CSM, all can be scheduled. Very powerful stuff, very easy to use stuff. All right, with that said, you saw that there were a number of ideas we implemented in this release. Hope to implement more and more as we go. Please open those ideas, always looking for them. Please vote for the ideas, always looking at the votes to set our priorities. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and thank you for watching the video.